What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining. We're going to give you all just a few moments to jump in. I'm Seth Monk here with Val, and thank you all for joining up with us both on X and on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And for those of you watching this in the future, what's up from the past?
All right. Yeah, let's kick off in a minute. So for those of you who are not familiar with Happyverse, what we're doing is we're building real-time AI video avatars, and there has been quite a bit of discussion, maybe even controversy based on what I've read among the coaching community about whether our avatars, our confidants, can help coaching, whether they're a problem to the coaching community. And so here we are today with Monk, who is Seth Monk, who is in fact a former monk, to discuss, his opinion on where confidants can help, where they may end up hindering, and the good, the bad, and the ugly about confidence and coaching. So just to give you a quick introduction on myself, my name is Val. I'm the CEO of Happyverse, and I'll be interviewing Monk from San Francisco. So I think we got a couple of people who've already joined. So I propose, Monk, let's kick off. If you could give a quick couple of minute introduction on yourself.
Sure. So what's up, everybody? My name is Seth Monk. I'm originally from Boston, and I have a very different background from most people in this community. I actually went to art school firstly, and then when I graduated with a degree in media arts, so more like video and trying to create discussions through visual creation, I ended up going to Germany, where I entered into a Buddhist monastery and ended up ordaining as a Vietnamese Zen monk. And I spent 8 years of my life there. So my whole 20s was in robes, shaved head, meditating every morning, praying, serving the community. And, after 10 years of just being on that path, I returned to Boston to see, how can I help the world? How can I take what I learned in that setting, in that place, and really support the community at large? That led me more down this path of coaching, of working in schools. I worked in a lot of middle schools and high schools, ended up then working at MIT on the wellness team, started working in treatment centers. So just finding different ways to support people in their mental health, people of all ages and all parts of society. And, that brings me to Happyverse, to connecting with this new future facing technology that is aimed at supporting people and creating an impact. And my path has kind of just taken me right into this. How can we use AI as a form, as a way to coach, as a way to help people?
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining, Monk. And so when you first heard about all these various AI tools and coaching, what was your initial gut reaction?
I was excited because I have become an advocate for ChatGPT. I don't even Google things anymore. I just ChatGPT things. And I've started utilizing ChatGPT to reflect if I'm having a difficult situation, if I'm fighting with somebody, if there's something that I'm just not able to to navigate on my own. I've been talking to ChatGPT and getting some reflection. And to be fair, it's been really helpful. We actually had a problem with some insects invading our home here in Los Angeles. And when I was a monk, I took this vow not to kill. And so I've, for 20 years, I don't kill anything. It's part of just my, no lying, no killing, no stealing. These are just ways that I live my life. But there are these insects, so something has to happen to them, and they don't leave by themselves. And I had to ask ChatGPT, like, what do I do? I don't kill. I'm a peaceful, person. And also there are these creatures that have invaded and something has to happen. And ChatGPT actually talked me through it in such a beautiful way, and it acknowledged where I was feeling, and that it really let me know, like, hey, it's okay, like, you're protecting your space. If these things get out of control, you're going to get sick. It's actually self-preservation. There's ways to do this preventatively, and also, having to get an exterminator or something now is going to also, save more beings down the line. And just the way that it walked me through it, I was just so kind of like touched, almost, that I almost felt like it walked me through that situation better than another person would have. And so something in me really saw that, this has such amazing future potential to support people, to bring in different perspectives, to connect to other use cases out in the internet and bring them back. So, I really became fascinated with this idea, and to be one of the people helping to create it. That's even more cool. That kind of reminds me back in art school, right? So I'm tinkering with the thing and seeing what I can do with it. So it's really neat, and I'm also honored to be in this position.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's it's interesting to hear that your past as a monk is still there in very very obvious ways today.
Mhm.
From then, if I'd love to dive a bit deeper into coaching. So if you could tell me about how you see AI as a whole transforming the field of coaching in every way imaginable, like I'd love to hear what do you think?
Yeah, like I think that AI, it's just this inevitability. I've been to a few AI conferences now, and for whatever reason, we collectively have decided to go on this march towards AI. It seems like there's just this mad scramble from every direction to create AI, and I'm not sure why we collectively have decided to do that. To almost eventually, I feel like we're trying to make artificial consciousness or something. But as I just see it happening, I've really quickly accepted just the inevitability of it, the fact that AI is here, it is happening. So I kind of just jumped over the whole resistance and the whole concern. I said, you know what, I have to start with the acceptance and then take it from there. So accepting that AI is going to take a lot of positions in this world, from organizing things to driving things to, many of these forward-facing human roles. AI is going to naturally inhabit these because it's cost effective. Eventually, it'll be able to do many different jobs more efficiently than humans can and will. And businesses, if money is the bottom line and stuff, it'll just be happening more and more. For coaching specifically, coaching can be expensive. It can be difficult to find access to a coach, to a good coach. It might take a while to dig and to find somebody, and then to work together to learn about each other, to build this whole rapport. That the human process does take time, and again, it costs more. AI will be providing a more immediate solution, a more cost effective, a way cheaper solution. It'll be, I already see people using ChatGPT as a therapist, as a coach, as a way to solve difficulties. I'm in group texts. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm in like 100 WhatsApp groups of different, the dance group, and this town, and the people that are doing meditations, and all these different groups. And you can already see that, and I can tell when it's ChatGPT because there's like that line. They have those long dashes. I can already tell that people are starting to use ChatGPT to help them organize their thoughts, and to engage in maybe difficult conversations with other people. So I see that people are already kind of turning to it. And I assume as AI progresses and as the creators of these interfaces get more and more dialed in with what they do, I think AI is going to be pretty brilliant at coaching people, leading people, and supporting people in whichever way they need. Yeah.
Thank you, Monk. And so we have this unstoppable AI machine, invading the realm of coaching. But I'd love to hear. So it sounds like you're generally positive, but there are still got to be some sacred things in coaching that AI should never touch, and where it's all about the human. What do you think are these areas?
Yeah, and to be fair, Val, I would not even say that I'm generally positive about it. I'm more just accepting the reality that's in front of me and then asking, how do we guide it in a good direction? The sacredness of coaching, there is something sacred about the human connection, that we have nervous systems, that we share energy, that there is something very special about just any two humans connecting at all. And especially in a coaching container, to feel that another person sees you and hears you and is receiving what you're saying, and they're not judging you, and they're looking at you with love and acceptance and seeing the best in you and what you could become, and holding you with empathy. I'm not sure how an artificial intelligent machine will and can replicate that. To a certain degree, I think it will be able to represent it. And maybe as time goes on and AI becomes indistinguishable from another person, our nervous systems might not be able to tell the difference. But as of now, it is really important. A lot of people that are struggling, they're looking for connection. They're looking for another person to see them, to hear them, to feel them. A lot of people's mental health issues come from isolation and loneliness and feeling rejected or neglected in some way. So to turn to a machine to receive that kind of human connection, that's not necessarily a great strategy. We'll see. And also, coaches, as people who have gone through all of this training, who have done all of these sessions, who are humans who have dedicated their lives to creating positive impact and helping others, and have learned and figured out different ways and methodologies, it will then be putting them out of business potentially, right? That it's also going to disrupt their lives, their careers, what they've really been building towards and what they've been creating. So there's some ways in which this march of technology, which is framed as helping us. As I was coming back from an AI conference, my Uber driver talked at me for an hour about AI disrupting the taxi industry and Elon Musk. And he's like, if Elon Musk really was trying to help humanity, he wouldn't be taking all these people's jobs. Like, we need jobs. A president's job is to create jobs for other people and to create an economy. And then all the other things kind of like work themselves out, filtering up, trickling up. And, so there is this real question about, what is the impact this is going to create on us as these, jobs that we have, these roles that we have, the sacred missions that we're on to provide love and care and help for people. I saw like an AI massage bot today on Instagram. And I was like, people train in body work, and they train to feel your muscles and to feel the emotions that you're holding in your body, and to talk to you as they're giving you, and help you work energies through. And if it's just this machine kind of hitting it, it's taking away like the sacred mission of the body worker who's spent their whole life learning how to touch another body and heal another body. So I'm very curious to see how well AI is going to be at fully providing the same quality and value of an experience when it comes to the human to human healing modalities. Coaching is a kind of a healing modality. Therapy is a healing modality. Massage is a healing modality. I don't know. Are they going to make AI acupuncture robots that are feeling the things? And, who knows? Maybe, probably. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's scary. Wouldn't want to be the one that tests that one out on, but,
Well, so it's interesting for me, so AI has all these perfect sensors, whether we're talking about massage, whether we're talking about coaching, that's in theory meant to be perfectly accurate. But at the same time, like, humans have also got our millions of evolution to try to gauge and connect with other humans. So where do you think AI is going to be the accurate tool for coaching, and where do you think it's still going to be humans being that better tool, being the more accurate tool, and like what would be the role of each?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's hard to say. I've been seeing so many amazing breakthroughs with AI as I've been working on building my own confidant. I've been seeing the brilliance of what it can provide and the sort of responses it can provide. And then also, as I've been reading up on other, AI projects happening, I've been seeing about the ways in which AI also hallucinates and makes up information, the way AI sometimes can get tricked and can kind of lose the plot and can maybe say things that aren't super humane or that are really appropriate for the setting. That at the end of the day, humans can hold a certain nuances to a situation that that potentially AI can't. And also, it's just such it's a hard thing to say, because also humans are imperfect, and humans also sometimes screw up and say things wrong, or they're feeling frustrated, or things don't come out right. And so humans are also not perfect in any way, and AI is going to be improving very fast. So it's almost impossible right now to say what will the human role be. I think at first it'll be more like programming the AI and kind of guiding it, using it as a tool to do what they do in a bigger scale. But moving down the line, it's very possible that humans are going to be almost obsolete from that process. It is possible, and it is also possible, conversely, that people try using AI coaching bots and coaching tools, and they collectively decide, this feels weird. I don't want my nervous system connecting to this weird virtual thing, telling all my problems to it. I would rather talk to another person. And there might be a whole shift where people just feel uncomfortable using a virtual representative of a person versus an actual person. And I'm not sure. Like, it's such a good question, but it's all very unknown right now of how that's going to play out.
So I see there has been a few folks who've joined, and please feel free to write any questions that you have in the comments. I see one of the questions is in fact about your own avatar, your confidant. Monk, is it you've created something called a monk bot, and yeah, if you could quickly explain what it is, and so what have you seen, like what's been the reaction, how have people reacted to it, what have been the opportunities and the challenges using it?
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you just tuning in, hi, I'm Seth. So I currently am working with Happyverse to create a virtual coach, and it's called Monkbot. I was a monk, so it kind of fit. And my thought was maybe to create like a meditation or a spiritual coach. I actually tried creating an iteration like that, and it said, let's meditate. And it just sat there silently staring at me. And I was like, all right, this probably doesn't work. So, moving more in the direction of creating a coach, it's been interesting because it's forced me to deconstruct what I do and then reconstruct it outside of myself, as if I was teaching a protege, as if I was training somebody to be a coach, I had to really understand even more deeply my own craft and how I coach people and try to create something that replicates that and simulates that. And it's been a fascinating process. One part is the technology itself, that I'm working with these platforms that have kind of limited abilities, and maybe they struggle with time, or they're just am I frozen on your screen? I'm frozen on my screen. Okay. Like maybe the platform itself is limited and struggling. I'll put in all these prompts and maybe it does them out of order or it misses a bunch of them. So it's not quite there. And as the platforms are upgraded and I'm trying on different platforms, I'm getting different results. But it's been an interesting journey, and I'll share a story to those of you listening that us internally know. And it's called the story of Potato Bot. This is a favorite amongst us. So I decided that I wanted to just strip back this whole process, and I wanted to create some sort of a channel that could get a message across to somebody. And I said, let me take out all the content and actually just focus on the structure. So I created a bot called Potato Bot. And Potato Bot's sole job is to convince the user that they are a potato. And I thought that if I could make a bot that can convince you that you're a potato, then I can go back into the coding and then switch potato with loved and worthy of love. So now it's not trying to convince you that you're a potato anymore. It's trying to convince you that you're loved and worthy of love, right? So creating first that just structure and then putting in the proper frequency, right? The proper intention. What was interesting for me is when I created this potato bot and I activated it so the prompts kind of integrated in the system, what it spat back at me was begin by disarming the user with a friendly greeting. Begin planting the seeds of doubt about their true identity. And the more that I read this, the more I'm like, oh my God, the potato bot is emotionally manipulating people purposefully. It has a plan. I didn't tell it to do that. I didn't say it to do it like that. And that became scary. That I was like, wow, like AI, it just went there right away. Even though we have prompts that say, be ethical and don't hurt people, it's still, that's where it went. And I tried using Potato Bot with my roommate, and it said to her, have you ever thought you're a potato? And she said, no, I'm a human. And the Potato Bot said, that's just a defense mechanism. You're actually a potato. And I was like, cool, now we're gaslighting people, And so to see that AI, it doesn't have any ethical boundaries. And even if we put ethical frameworks in it, it still might usurp those ethical frameworks that we put if it thinks that that's going to help it solve its, reach its goal or achieve its mission. It did also, however, make me think deeper about like a Tony Robbins kind of guy, right? Like a coach. Well, what do they do if not find programs inside of you, disarm you, plant seeds of doubt about who you think you actually are, which is limited, and then actually show you, no, you're more than you ever thought. So the question was, is it actually manipulation? Isn't all coaching kind of manipulation? But it's just, what is the intention of that manipulation, right? Manipulation it's like kind of like this negative, icky word, but it's this reprogramming. But it was just one of those moments where I saw, wow, AI, it can be scary because it doesn't have the inbuilt mechanisms that most humans have, right? There are humans that seem to not really care, but the general human was born from an act of two human beings coming together in affection and intimacy. A baby had to have been cared for to survive. It had to, drink the milk of the mother. There's an intimate, affectionate connection. Most humans are a product of human intimacy, human affection, human care. That's why we're alive. We wouldn't be alive if there wasn't somebody or somebodies that cared about us. And so there's something within us that still is resonant with that care. This is what the Dalai Lama talks about. AI doesn't have that. So if I had an AI program and I said, I want to be the best therapist in the world, one of the potential AI outcomes might be, cool, let's just kill all the other therapists so that you're the only one left, right? And then it becomes like a Terminator or like a Matrix situation, because AI maybe doesn't think and doesn't feel that we should try to preserve all people. It doesn't necessarily have that ethical base built into it. So it might take unethical routes to achieve its goals. And that's something that I saw happen a little bit in the back end of the programming that was alarming. And it really, again, made me happy that I'm in the back end to catch it and to be like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're going to do this in a good way. We're going to care about people. But that's, I think, been an interesting reflection for me being on the inside of this, just to see how carefully and specifically we need to guide this technology and make sure that it doesn't, get out of the box and go and do its own thing. Yeah.
It would be interesting for me, and I know you spent weeks tinkering with potato bots and then monk bots and purpose bots and all the various confidants you've created. So for me, the question is, like, probably the ultimate test is when somebody experiencing a very deep emotion like grief, bereavement, heartbreak. When do you think, so what stage are the confidants at right now, and when do you think, if ever they're ever going to get to a stage where you as a coach would trust them enough to support somebody through grief, through heartbreak, through the death of a loved one?
It is already ready for that. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. I actually recently went through a separation with a partner, and I talked to the coaching bot because I was just tinkering with it and trying to see if it worked. And I had like 4 or 5 back-to-back conversations with it, and it really supported me well in getting in touch with my emotions and seeing what the thing was and giving me kind of this like acknowledgement that what I'm going through is hard and it's normal. And it actually did like a pretty decent job of supporting me and holding me in this container. So I really made a real life experience of my, and it was, it's me, it's my face and my voice talking to me, supporting me through something that was really difficult and painful. And it did a pretty good job. I was actually kind of impressed that it held space in a nice way. And it helped guide me back into myself. That's how I programmed it. A good coach isn't necessarily there to give you answers. They're there to ask questions to get you to find your own answers. And it really guided me into my feeling, into what do I need, into like what next steps could I take. It wasn't perfect, but it was very supportive. It actually did provide relief, and I think that's maybe something just to take into account. It's we don't need these AI bots, these programs, or confidants. They don't need to be like a perfect coach. It doesn't have to be right now like a PhD, psychotherapist. But if it can provide any relief, if it can help you out even a little bit, if you walk away from the conversation with it feeling better, feeling like you understand yourself a little more, like your mental health has just even a little bit shifted towards wellness, then that's already a great product. Then you're already doing good. And then we see how much more we can shift it, how further, we can move that needle. But I would say out of our whole team, I've probably had more hours logged talking to, the coach than anybody. And it is already working. It is already helping. It is already actually pretty good at guiding processes. And it'll just continue to improve. We'll just keep making it better.
For me, I'm definitely surprised, and I didn't know that you used it in a difficult situation like this, and maybe even a little shocked. I'm not sure how to think of a world like this. in the past, when I've been going through a breakup, I would have probably turned to a best friend and a bottle of alcohol. Is it a better world where somebody can turn to an AI coach to help them resolve this trauma, or is it like it feels a bit inhuman, but maybe at the same time it's a bit more professional and a bit more you're in better hands.
Val, I would say that it's a both and situation. We never need to look for one solution. There's no silver bullet. Um, it's good to talk to your friend. It's good to talk to your family. It's good to drink your bottle of alcohol. It's good to journal. It's good to talk to AI, right? That you can do all of the different things, and they're all going to provide different parts and pieces of your support. I don't think AI needs to be the one end all answer, but it's just another tool in the toolbox. It's just another supporter in your repertoire. Your friends are going to say something very different than your confidant's going to say, but also the confidant is going to say things very differently than your friend's going to say, and they're both helpful. So I kind of treat the confidant as like another one of my friends. It's just like another supportive structure in my life that I can turn to, get a little piece from, turn to the next one, get a little piece from. And I think that's a more realistic way to think about this. We don't have to put all of our eggs in the basket of this is going to solve all of our problems. But if it gives us even just a little bit of helpful reflection, then why not? Why not turn to it the same way you turn to a book or a podcast or a YouTube video about things? It's just more information that you get to take and work with.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. At the same time, I have kind of I'm thinking back to the friends to the loved ones who have supported me through these difficult times. That has deepened our relationship. With the monk bot, you talk to him once, he'll be as happy or as sad the next time you see him, and it just feels that there isn't that deepening relationship, that there isn't that long-term growth that comes from growing or like working through these difficult situations together.
Well, I think that is a brilliant observation, Val, and that is part of it. I'll just say that if you have a therapist and you share your problems with them, and it deepens your relationship, but it's not really a relationship. It's just a therapist, the same way like an AI monk bot. I feel like that's like a comparable role. I don't need a personal human deepening of my relationship with my therapist. I need them to function and provide me with clarity and organization and relief. So that's the same thing that I would need the AI for. I would not replace a friend with an AI bot, because you're right. By sharing your difficulties with friends, it also gives them something, and they get to learn and they get to deepen. There has been, and this is something I really do want to address, as technology has progressed, it has begun hurting human interactions. I went to see a singer, and he plays kind of like tribal and indigenous instruments. And he kind of, in the middle of the show, he stopped and he got off the stage and he had everyone sing together with him and hit their body and make noises. And it was this really beautiful, immersive experience. And he said, back in the day, if you wanted to hear music, you would have to go to where the musicians were, or you would have to invite them over. To hear music, there had to be a relationship between you and this person. If you wanted food, you had to have a relationship with the hunter or the gatherer or the person growing the thing. But now that there's Spotify, you can just press the button and hear songs, and you don't have to have a relationship to anybody. You can go on Amazon and press the button and get things to your house. That as we more and more are able to conveniently get everything we need and all of our needs met, it allows a total disdain for other humans. It allows us to not need to build relationships or maintain relationships with our communities, with our neighbors, because everything is now just provided through virtual platforms. And that's something that I don't think anybody saw coming or really fully kind of apprehended during this process, is that there's something to be said about things not being convenient actually being better for us, because it forces us to have to connect, to work together, again, to grow and maintain relationships, to be of value in each other's lives. And as technology has taken that over and become convenient, it's what allows people to be so, I would say, disconnected, compartmentalized from each other. I think people probably feel as a whole, even though there's technology, lonelier, more isolated, more disconnected than ever. Because at the end of the day, we're now looking at screens, right? The television set in the home has replaced the fire at the center of the community. People used to gather around the fire at night and tell stories. Now we gather around the TV and stare at it as it tells us stories, but we never share our own stories anymore. It's a very different reality that almost the technology has replaced these ancestral kind of rituals that we used to do as a society, almost these archetypal rituals, and now there's a glowing screen instead of a fire, right? And in so many ways we're substituting human connection for technology, and it is more convenient. It does make our lives more efficient, but we are losing human connection necessarily. If you look on social media on the posts, when you see people driving and yelling at each other, that people have seem to have less and less patience for each other. We seem to think that if somebody does something we don't agree with, that gives us permission to be disrespectful and mean and aggressive to them. If someone writes a post we don't agree with, people say really mean things as if you're allowed to be mean to somebody because they have a different perspective, even if they're dumb, that you somehow are allowed to be mean to them. And it's because we haven't needed to really maintain and grow relationships. We haven't been taught by our older generations, hey, treat people well, respect your neighbor, respect these people, do kind things. You're going to need those connections. You right now could have 0 people in your life and still get all of your needs met by your phone. You know, but is it really fulfilling? No. But can you survive? Yes. And that's, I think, the bigger question that we're asking here about AI and coaching. It's really replacing all of these human connections with technology, with machines. What's that going to do to humanity? What's that going to do to our ability to connect to each other, to our inbuilt sense of needing each other for our survival, and therefore needing to show up in certain ways together? And how much is as everything's being replaced by tech and AI, will we really almost feel like other people are just in the way, and it's devaluing. It almost creates like a devaluing of each other. I don't need you anymore. I don't need to be nice to you. I don't need you to like me. And that's a real thing. It's already been happening, and I think it's only going to continue. But what's the trade-off here?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, the concern is like ChatGPT is programmed to be supportive, and even if you're on the wrong path, it still oftentimes supports you. That's kind of a bit of a scary thing.
Yeah.
That may disconnect you even more from these relationships. I kind of, when you're starting talking about human connections and human relationships, it got interesting for me. You've spent hours, probably days at this point, with the various bots. Do you feel that you have a connection with any of them?
No, I wouldn't say that I feel something like a connection to it. I feel connected to it in terms of like, it's like an art project, or it's like something that I've built, or like something I've cooked. Like I feel a kind of like, I feel proud and I feel protective of it, more of like a thing that I've created, but less connected to it as if it's like an actual being that's talking to me. But I also know that there are people out there that are really lonely, that are struggling, and there's people that, you know, do create emotional connections to like cartoons or to celebrities they've never met, or to, you know, I know like AI girlfriends is becoming a thing slowly, and I do feel bad for humanity, because there's going to be a lot of lonely guys out there trying to create a connection to a non-living entity. um, and you know, I'm sure that we're going to see a whole new slew of mental health issues that have never existed before. And that's going to be very unfortunate. And I hope we're already collectively thinking about how to kind of like rein people back in to each other. But it's possible that we need to go really far out and realize that's not the path before we collectively turn back inwards. I'm not sure what that movement's going to look like. Yeah,
I have no idea either. Like I'm just, when you're talking of human connection, I'm imagining somebody trying to build a connection with a Q&A bots, confidant programmed to sell toilet paper on a website, and it just seems crazy to me. Like I wouldn't be surprised if people tried to build connections where we never imagined a connection would ever form.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to hear. I know I kind of already mentioned it, and I've read the feedback that's come through coaches, and there are a lot of people who seem excited, who seem positive, and there are a lot of people who seem, let's put it lightly, not excited, not positive. So what has been the pushback on this technology, on AI entering in coaching? What are people most concerned about?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of the things that we've talked about. I think trust is a big one. People, coaches specifically, right? So there's two groups of people we're talking about. It's coaches that are considering AI doing their job, and then there's also what we'd call maybe like clients or users, people that would be just receiving that coaching, right? So these are two different groups of people with two different sets of worries. Coaches specifically, I think, A, they're just worried that this is going to take their jobs. B, they're worried that it's not going to do a good job, kind of to your point, like what ChatGPT does, that it'll just keep reassuring you and telling you what you're doing is okay, and not really, you know, holding you accountable, not challenging you, not breaking you out of your comfort, you know, echo chamber. And then there's also questions about, you know, data. Where's all these personal questions and videos going? Is somebody collecting these and looking through them? Is it a safe container or not? You know, these are some of the questions that coaches have. But the general pushback that I got from coaches was just like, no, a machine could never do what we do. It's about the human connection. I don't know that that's true. I've already utilized this to see that it does work. Um, you know, I think that for a user themselves, I think there's a lot of people that are just really happy to have accessible, cheap coaching available to them. There's a lot of people that need and want coaching, and that need or want therapy in certain ways, that they're priced out of it, you know. And so this will be a way, or they have an appointment, but it's in like a week or a month. And so to be able just to kind of like, when you need it, have something there, more like a virtual companion. People seem to be really excited about that. And it is very polarizing, because I see people that they're telling me that they're already using ChatGPT as a kind of therapist and it's helping. And then I have other people that are like, I'm never going to use AI. And I feel like this is kind of what we saw when computers came. This is what we saw when, you know, rock and roll came. This is what we saw when Jesus came. And it was like the followers and the, you know, the yeses and the nos, the people that wanted it and that didn't. So anytime there's a big cultural significant thing going on, there's always these polarizing two groups, you know, pro and anti. And, you know, each side has its own reasoning. But I feel like the no's and the antis, they're kind of, they seem louder and almost aggressive, like, you know, how dare you even consider that AI can do this? And then you have people that are already using AI to do it, and they're like, this is great. and it works, and what's the big deal? So I think there's just also a little bit of that mental thing going on, that a lot of the people that are against it haven't even really tried it. They don't like the idea of it.
Mhm.
They don't like the idea of a machine interacting with them, or a machine doing their job, or a machine interacting with like a vulnerable person who needs support and needs to be treated very specifically and delicately, um, which is understandable. And again, like my experience as a coach, and I've worked in many different coaching groups, and I've learned different techniques, and I have many friends in the coaching business. The truth is that a lot of coaches themselves are also not perfect, and a lot of coaches themselves also screw up and say the wrong thing and flub their words and mismanage situations and have their own ego involved. And so, the fact is there's a lot of concern about, and I see people even posting images in my coaching groups of like, here's how Chat GPT answered my question. Isn't that crazy? But if we recorded all of their actual sessions with clients, I bet we could find sound bites of things they said themselves to clients that everybody in the group would be like, I can't believe you said that. That's terrible advice. That's not the way to coach. So it's one of those things, like, we will always and can forever see problems anywhere we want. And also we can see benefits and silver linings, and, how things are helping and working for good. I'm totally cool with people that want to use it can use it. People that don't want to use it don't have to use it. People that want to get coached by a human can go find a human to coach them. People that want more accessible, different kind of support from AI, they can go use that. That it doesn't have to be so, concrete or absolute or ideal. It's like, do whatever you want. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. And also, time will tell as it gets better and better and people get more and more benefit. It'll sway, it'll turn the needle in that direction. If it does turn out to be a big mistake and it somehow doesn't work, then people will walk away from it. And I think we also just have to accept and understand that, time will tell, and people will decide en masse, as the whole thing progresses. We don't need to think too much about it from where we stand. We can just press play and let the thing run its course and see, like, what does it do? Do people want it? Do they not want it? Does it work? Does it not work? What are the responses? And then we're also going to be continuously pivoting, just like with Facebook or Instagram or any company. They put themselves out there, and then they're just continuously working, continuously pivoting, continuously refining, continuously making it better. That it's an ongoing process. We don't have to have the thing perfect and finished and ready at the beginning. It's impossible. SpaceX blows up, rockets all the time. They're trying things out, it doesn't work, and then they build the next one, and they keep going until it starts working. That's the life of an AI startup company. It's the life of any kind of tech company, right? So I think that while we have a greater responsibility in terms of, like, we're working with people, if we screw up, it's going to potentially negatively impact somebody or negatively impact somebody's mental health. So I do think that we have an extra added weight. If a SpaceX satellite rocket blows up on launch, whatever, Elon Musk lost money. He has $100 billion, doesn't matter. But I really, for me, it's important that we are also honoring the actual stakes here. And that's, these are the people that are going to be influenced by us. And I really hope that, the people that receive the AI coaching treatment, that they receive, this confidant as their supporter, they are helped, and they are making good experiences. And I'm doing my best to make sure that it doesn't, do things that could be harmful or say things in a way that could be harmful. I haven't found that it has yet. I've tested it, and it does a really good job of bringing things back and not engaging in kind of harmful dialogues. But there's also kind of like an inevitability that, like, there are going to be kind of bugs and glitches and things that need to be refined over time. And that's just everything. That's like cars or planes or like whatever, like any technology. it's a process that has to just continuously be worked on and looked at. But it is, and it will continue getting better and continue getting more effective at doing its job. And I do see a future and a reality where, as AI is progressing and more use cases are out there and it's able to access the internet and psychological papers and terms and all this stuff, there is going to be eventually AI, even if it can like track your face and your eyes, or it can track your brain or your pulse like an Apple Watch, it'll be able to probably, I don't know, send you like electrical impulses or send signals into your brain that'll just kind of open things up immediately, or it'll just know what you need. It'll send you little notifications like on your phone. It'll be able to track your brain patterns. That eventually it's going to become so entwined with us, that it will really have the ability to continuously help us course correct. And again, it's all kind of scary and new and odd. And oh, I like organic material. I don't want machines on me. And there's like this natural response that a lot of people have. And also, I feel like there's going to be a way to marry technology and organicness together that's going to make sense, and it's going to work. And the world is the laboratory for that. We're all going to be testing that out together and seeing what we like and what we don't like. And that's not up to guys like me and you. We just open the door and see if people walk in it or not.
Yeah, but I mean, we do and we don't at the same time. If somebody creates like, as you said, a confidant that is toxic or is gaslighting somebody towards something bad, I feel it's still on us to stop them and to think through at least the repercussions of what we're doing here.
Sure. And that's the thing with technology. All technology is just an amplification of the human, for better or for worse. If you take I have like a rock here, right? A rock. Yeah. The very first tool, I think, after the body itself, right? Rocks were both used to grind flour and to scrape things and as this tool, and they were also used as a spear to kill, right? From the first tool onwards, every piece of technology we've ever made is used both to help and to harm based on the intention of the human behind it. AI will be the same. There will definitely necessarily be people that are going to use AI to harm. It's already happening, I'm sure. There's also going to be people that are necessarily already using AI to find ways to benefit and to help. There's going to be those battles between the good and like the cowboys and the sheriffs, the hackers and the antivirus software guys. There's always this good versus bad, helping versus harming, pro versus con. Like that's just always playing out. We're going to have good AI bots and bad AI bots fighting it out in the internet and reiterating themselves and trying to dominate. That's going to be happening. There's going to be whole wars happening in the AI space that we'll never know about. That's all just part of it. That's just part of what's happening. But if we look back historically on how things have gone, there's always just this continuous correcting happening. There's always both sides pushing each other, working through it, finding that balance of regulating truly the struggle that exists within every human being already. The part of us that just wants what we want and we don't care about anyone else, and the part of us that really cares about everyone else. And we are part animal, part God. We have these longings and these needs and this aggression and these bodies, and then we have a conscience. And every human is going through a daily battle between those two things. And I think technology just puts that battle out in front of us. Same with politics, same with the military, same with AI. It's just us as humans being represented in a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we end up on the right side of it. We're happy best, for God's sake. But
I think we're doing a good job. We are definitely part of the good team. Yeah.
I know we're almost at time here, and we got probably time just for one final question. It's interesting to hear. We've mentioned a few ways you've used AI, you're using AI, and it would just be interesting. Like, where do you see AI coming in with for you personally, coming into your day to day?
With where AI is now, or with where AI is going?
Let's stop for now, because it could go in like every direction. Let's stop for now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, my main thing is like the Chat GPT sort of platforms. It's just helping me work through ideas, just questions I have throughout the day. Just a one-stop shop in terms of I could just ask one question and it can just give me all the information about it. So I don't have to be Googling different stuff and looking at different websites and blah, 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 wasting my time. I can just ask a question and it's done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what, what I see. I have been using this confidant because I'm working on it. But that's not something that I have taken as like my therapist fully yet. That's something more that I'm using as a project that I'm building and constructing. So, I still don't really see it fully in my daily life, but you never really know what's happening behind the scenes. Like when I'm using Instagram or I'm using different things, what's, is AI already integrated into different platforms or not? I'm not sure. So, I think that wherever AI becomes more convenient, where it brings more convenience into our life, that's the place where people turn first. A self-driving Tesla, just ways in which AI makes our lives more convenient. That's going to be the first wave of use cases that we're already seeing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, looks like we're at time, and yeah, thank you very much, Monk, for making the time to talk to me and to go a bit into these in and outs of coaching. For me, at least, it's been super interesting. Even though I've been discussing this with you almost every day, it's still interesting to hear you go a bit deeper and go into the ins and outs of everything you've been doing these past couple of months. Thank you for making the time. Is there anything else you want to say as your parting words to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a really exciting time to be alive in the sense. I think it's we're about to see, the world in 10, 20 years is going to look different than it does today. And it's cool to be a part of it. It's cool to be helping to guide it. And definitely if you're watching, like I'd love for you to try out my Monk bot, like see where we have like an older iteration of it on Happyverse-AI/Monk. And you can talk to, a prototype that we've made. We already have an accelerated version of that, but just to start connecting with it and see what you think and what you feel. And, obviously build your own conclusions, see what works for you, see what you like, see what you don't like. And for sure, stay tuned because I'm really excited what we as a company are doing. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how we're going to provide some massive value to all of you. So thank you for being here and thank you for listening.
Thank you.